And the two cars at the head of the field, great interest for long-serving speed car followers. These two cars, really speed car history here. The car on the inside is a car I guess you would call a tribute to Leroy Warriner, the driver who appeared in Australia, brought to Australia by Empire Speedways during the 1960-61 season, and then came back again the following year in 1961-62 summer racing season. Accompanying him, of course, was the late great Bob Tattersall, and Leroy Warriner in that black car, number 1, the man who drove to great victories in Australia. This car is a tribute to him. The Clough brothers out of Brisbane beautifully restored the car, and the car beside him is Arthur Sollitt behind the wheel of the Roadster Offenhauser powered machine. Now this car also originally driven in the United States by Leroy Warriner and was brought to Australia, driven in Adelaide, owned and driven in Adelaide by Kim Benythan, promoter driver extraordinaire of the famous Rowley Park Speedway in Adelaide. And then of course the car went to Brisbane, where it was driven by Blair Shepherd as we watched the rest of the field circulate the Charlton Raceway. The Sollitt Roadster, earlier driven by Blair Shepherd at the Brisbane Exhibition Ground before Arthur Sollitt took over the controls of the Roadster, the Offie Roadster, and those two famous race cars now pulling off onto the infield, the tribute to Leroy Warriner, the number 1 car, and the original Leroy Warriner Roadster, the Hank Green car, as we set ourselves now for 40 laps to determine the Australian Speedcar Champion for 1995. A hot field, certainly some hot action coming away. The man on the pole position, the defending Australian champion, Warren Eakins from Darwin in the Northern Territory. But watch the man on the outside in the black and gold, car number 75, Rod Bowen. Inside second row, Mike Figlamini. Outside of the second row, John Mills from Victoria. Brett Morris on the inside of the third row. Beside him is Troy Jenkins in the Lander Toyota entry. And I dare say it doesn't need too much of an expert to suggest that the winner will come from probably the first 3 rows. And dare I say it, from the front row. But of course, anything can happen in speedway racing. Always expect the unexpected, as they say. But Warren Eakins, his form over the last 5 years, absolutely outstanding in Australian Speedcar Championship competition, as we've been saying throughout the video call. Winner of the 4 out of the last 5 Australian Speedcar titles. Of course, Rod Bowen, a man well versed in speedway competition, formerly with compact speed cars, formerly with sprint cars, and now setting himself for one of the biggest moments of his career here tonight at the Charlton Raceway. So it shouldn't be too much longer before the field is set on their 40-lap journey. According to officials, 1 lap to go. The yellow lights are out, so we should get a start this time around. Here we go, LJ Hooker bringing you the 1995 Australian Speedcar Championship. They start to quicken coming off turn 4, and away they go down into the first turn, and Warren Eakins gets the best of the start. Bowen looking for a way through on the inside as they run into turn number 3, but it's Warren Eakins down into turn number 4 on the first occasion. And Eakins skipping clear into turn 1. Still Bowen neatly tucked away there in second position, and they in turn were tailed out by Mike Figlamini. Looks like the next man through is Brett Morris. They in turn were tailed out by Neville Lance, John Mills, Troy Jenkins, Joe Little, as they run down into turn number 1. But the man in front is Warren Eakins. Here he is down the straightaway into turn 1. And Bowen still in second spot now. Neville Lance looking for a 1 through there on the inside of Mike Figlamini. Couldn't pull it off on that occasion. Figlamini keeping down low, and Neville Lance snapping at his heels. Down into turn 3. There he is on screen. The race leader, the 4 times Australian Speedcar Champion, guns it into turn number 1. Warren Eakins having a top drive at the top of the field in this hotly contested Australian Speedcar Championship. Eakins doing it beautifully out in front, opening up a bit of a margin now, in fact, on Rod Bowen. Bowen's still there in second position, and next man through is Mike Figlamini. Down the back straightaway once again. That's your top four runners. Figlamini third and Neville Lance fourth. Brett Morris in fifth. John Mills in sixth. Troy Jenkins seventh. Joe Little, the next man through. Shouldn't be too many more laps before these front runners start lapping the tail end cars. There's Eakins once again. Now something like only a quarter of a lap separating himself from the rear tail end cars, and John Field striking trouble there, bringing on the yellow lights. John Field striking problems. Warren Eakins taking up the role of pacemaker once again as they work the back straightaway, and there's problems further back in the field. A tangle of cars going in all directions further back. Yellow lights on once again. Sean Burrows, one of the Watson cars. Tom Watson Jr. and Rod Bowen running there in second spot. Mike Figlamini third. Down the back straightaway once again, and Eakins clear. Now Mike Figlamini taking the race right up to Rod Bowen. Rod Bowen in second spot and Figlamini there in third position. Man on camera at the present time, Warren Eakins clear. Car end for ended. A violent flip through turns 3 and 4. A big crash there. Ross Keener is the driver. A big dump there for Ross Keener. Warren Eakins, Fontana's running at the top of the field. In fact, as the lights turn to green once again, and Rod Bowen taking the race right up to Eakins as the Fontanas battle it out down the back straightaway. But it's still Eakins, but here comes Bowen. Bowen's putting in the big effort now. Oh, and Bowen struck problems. Rod Bowen has struck problems. Bad luck indeed for a man who deserved just so much luck tonight. Warren Eakins, the yellow lights are now on. Yellow lights on. Yellow lights now gone out, so should get a start, yes. And now Mike Figlamini, the man to take the race, up to Warren Eakins. Eakins still clear. And Eakins in fact going wide, and Figlamini takes the lead. Mike Figlamini now leading, and Neville Lance through on the inside. Neville Lance now up into second position, and Brett Morris now challenging Warren Eakins. Warren Eakins, a sensational incident here, back to third position in the Australian Speedcar Championship as Mike Figlamini on screen at the present time leads down the main straightaway. Neville Lance there in second position, and this could well be Neville Lance's big chance. After such incredible bad luck over recent years, this is Neville Lance's chance, but he must get past Mike Figlamini. Here comes Warren Eakins. I don't think he's done quite yet, by the way. Warren Eakins now challenging strongly on the tail there of Neville Lance, but it's still Figlamini in front. Mike Figlamini leads the LJ Hooker-sponsored 1995 Australian Speedcar Championship, coming away from Toowoomba's Charlton Raceway into turn number 1 and doing a good job at the head of the field. Leads the high-speed dress parade onto the back straightaway once again. And there's nothing between this top three. Neville Lance tucked away neatly there in second position, and Warren Eakins certainly not giving up the chase, but he's got it all to do. This is where the interest is in the battle at the top three. For the top three positions, Neville Lance now having the pressure applied by Warren Eakins, but Neville Lance giving clear on the straightaway. Still Figlamini leading at the top of the field, doing it nicely out in front. Here comes Eakins once again. Neville Lance in second, Eakins third. Next man through is Brett Morris. They in turn were tailed out by Joe Little. Gavin Lear putting in a big drive also. Mark Brown the next man through, and Ray Bishop coming from the back of the field. Well positioned at this stage. A good drive by Ray Bishop. But it's still Mike Figlamini with a bit of a break now over Lance and Eakins. Mike Figlamini leading, Neville Lance there, and here comes Warren Eakins once again. Tries the high line now, looks down low onto the inside of the racetrack. It's a drag down into turn number 3, and Warren Eakins takes over second position. Warren Eakins now going out after Mike Figlamini. This is a big drive by Warren Eakins. If he can win this, this will be his hardest title. He's had to work real hard. Here he comes now, honing in on Mike Figlamini down into turn number 1. Mike Figlamini, the race leader, and here comes Warren Eakins. Sets himself on the outside down into turn 3. A great race for the Australian Speedcar Championship by some great speed car drivers. Mike Figlamini and Warren Eakins up onto the high line now down the back straightaway. A great race, a great Australian title. Brett Morris still there in 4th spot, and there's problems further back in the field. Mark Brown goes off onto the infield, will take no further part in the Australian title. And here it is at the top of the field, and Warren Eakins takes it right up to Mike Figlamini. Down the main straightaway they go. Mike Figlamini sticks to his guns. A great drive, a superb effort by Mike Figlamini. Here comes Eakins, high line, and he couldn't pull it off that time. Mike Figlamini, Warren Eakins and Neville Lance. Brett Morris the next man through. Gavin Lear up into 5th position, a great drive. Ray Bishop also a great drive. Joe Little also there running strongly. Here comes Warren Eakins once again. Laps starting to run out in the LJ Hooker Australian Speedcar Championship. And certainly some of these lap cars could also play a big part in determining the outcome of this race. Into 3 once again. Here comes Eakins down on the low line, guns it down the main straightaway, and Figlamini back on the outside. A great performance. Eakins and Figlamini for the Australian Speedcar Championship, and Warren Eakins gets to the lead. A half-car lead, and now a lead down the main straightaway. A great drive by Warren Eakins. A superb performance by the Australian Speedcar champion. Really had the job ahead of him when he dropped back to 3rd position, and certainly a great drive, a great performance. One of his hardest titles he's ever won, I dare say. Figlamini certainly will be disappointed as Warren Eakins now starts to come up and put a lap on some of these tail end cars. Still Lance there, next man through, Brett Morris, Gavin Lear, and also Ray Bishop. Joe Little, the next contender, Gary Mulcahy going through. And the yellow lights are on. Car stranded in the main straightaway. Car stranded in the main straightaway, but what a performance by Mike Figlamini, Warren Eakins and Neville Lance. Those top 3, absolutely brilliant speed car racing. Should get a start this time around. Eakins to lead away, Figlamini, Lance, Morris and Gavin Lear also coming into contention for a major placing. A good drive by Gavin Lear, but it's Warren Eakins leading down onto the back straightaway once again. Figlamini second, Lance third, Brett Morris, Gavin Lear, Ray Bishop, Joe Little. That's the top running order. Eakins goes a little high in actual fact, and Mike Figlamini closes that gap, but Warren Eakins still has everything under control in the back straightaway, working the back section of the course, and Figlamini coming again. This race is not over yet, believe me. Warren Eakins holding down a mid-track starting, mid-track position. Figlamini there, taking the race right up to Eakins. Neverland's dropping behind just a little bit there in third position. And now Gavin Lear moving up into fourth spot. Brett Morris is fifth. Next man through is Ray Bishop, followed by Joe Little. Down into turn number 3, once again, Warren Eakins leading. Only a handful of laps remaining in the 1995 LJ Hooker Australian Speedcar Championship, coming away from Toowoomba's Charlton Raceway. They work the back straightaway once again, and Eakins with just a little buffer now over Mike Figlamini. Down the main straight to complete another lap into turn 1, and a beautiful drive by Warren Eakins. Field now starting to string out around the Charlton Raceway. Still Eakins leading and doing a great job. Mike Figley has chased hard, chased relentlessly for his first Australian title win. Nothing really between Figlamini and Eakins. Figlamini warming to the task for what could well be the last throw of the dice. Neverland still there in third, Gavin Lear in fourth, and Brett Morris fifth. That's your top 5. Next man through after Morris is Ray Bishop, Joe Little and Tom Watson Sr. Here comes Figlamini once again. Figlamini now right on the tail of Warren Eakins, taking the race right up to Warren Eakins. White flag out, denoting 1 lap remaining of the Charlton Raceway for Warren Eakins, working the back straightaway for the final time. Lap car in the way there as they gun it down into turn number 3. Oh, this lap car could provide all kinds of problems, and Warren Eakins and Mike Figlamini cross the line in a absolute blinder. A photo finish for the Australian Speedcar Championship. A lap car caused that in the... Well, not actually caused it, but it certainly was a lap car that got in the way of both the two front runners. It is now official. Mike Figlamini, the winner of the 1995 Australian Speedcar Championship, coming in second in an absolute photo finish. Nothing in it was Warren Eakins. Lost it on the final corner. I think you'll find Neville Lance certainly lasted long enough to get third placing, but a great Australian Speedcar Championship, certainly one of the best in many, many years. A great win, a great performance by Mike Figlamini. A last corner win. You couldn't get much closer than that to determine the Australian Speedcar champion.
Tell you what, I can't believe it.
It's a hard race?
Very hard. You know, I never gave up, and we sort of tried to stay with Warren, and you know, we sort of, luckily we came into lap cars and it was the only chance we had, and we only just got there by a tyre, but it was enough to win.
Yeah, today was a very good race, and it's a shame that we didn't win, but you can't take nothing away from Michael. He drove a fantastic race.
We'll be back to try again next year.
Oh, for sure. Not a problem.
The car felt really good. It was on strong, and then about lap 20, 25, it just sort of, the tyre went away, and I thought, and then my race was done then. I thought, well, I just got to hang in there. You never know what happens in these long races, you know.